Welcome to HDTV. You're now rocking with your boy. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler guesses the Washington football team could land Allen Robinson. In just over a month from now, the 2021 NFL new league year will begin and free agency will officially start. Last year, in his first season as head coach of Washington, Ron Rivera attempted to make a massive splash by signing Cowboys receiver Amari Cooper to a monster deal. Unfortunately, Cooper decided to return to Dallas for what some say was slightly less money than Washington offered. Regardless, Ron missed on his man. This offseason, the wide receiver class is expected to be pretty plentiful. The following top guys are scheduled to become free agents if long-term or franchise tags are not exercised. You got Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Will Fuller. Corey Davis, Curtis Samuel, Marvin Jones, T.Y. Hilton, Sammy Watkins, Rashard Higgins, and Josh Reynolds. Recently, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler took a stab at where some potential big-name free agents could land. Fowler had Bears receiver Allen Robinson landing in D.C. If this were to come true, he and Terry McLaurin could perfectly complement one another in Scott Turner's offense. Robinson has been known throughout his career as an air ballerina. He consistently wins one-on-one with exceptional leaping ability, body control, and great hands. His presence would force over-the-top help to decide whether doubling him or McLaurin. Whoever isn't getting doubled could crush an opposing defense. And that was Washington. Now, let's see. Also, Panthers would trade running back McCaffrey and 3 first-round picks for Texans QB Deshaun Watson, per report. As the rumor mill continues to churn, the latest bold prediction involving the departure of quarterback Deshaun Watson from the Houston Texans involves the Carolina Panthers, multiple first-round picks, and a certain all-pro running back. The Panthers will do whatever it takes to get Deshaun Watson, and that includes giving up 3 first-round draft picks and Christian McCaffrey, said David Newton, who covers the Panthers for ESPN's NFL Nation. Owner David Tepper wants to win a Super Bowl. He's made that clear. He understands it takes a marquee quarterback to do that. If you look at recent history outside of Kansas City's quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, the quickest way to do that is to trade for a marquee quarterback and not draft one in the first round. Just ask Tampa Bay. If the Texans were to be offered 3 first-round picks for Watson, logic suggests they would have to consider the deal. That being said, the inclusion of McCaffrey would likely not be enough to make this a slam dunk offer. Just look at the last time the Texans traded a Pro Bowler for a former All-Pro running back. Granted, McCaffrey is prodigiously talented, not to mention younger than the aforementioned David Johnson, who is fresh off of a disappointing debut season in Houston. Additionally, there are some who would consider McCaffrey's inclusion something less than inviting because of his contract. He's due to make $16 million a year. McCaffrey would undoubtedly be an upgrade at the position, but the fact is that with one of the worst run-blocking offensive lines in the league, and in this scenario, a question mark at quarterback to work with, it can be argued that McCaffrey would be wasted in Houston. Regardless, the Houston Chronicle's John McClain stated recently that if the Texans were to be forced or tempted into any deal involving Watson, they would require at least 2 young defensive starters. Okay. And John McClain basically said on Twitter, you can follow him at McClain_ON, which is on_NFL. The Rams-Lions trade will have nothing to do with the Watson trade. If the Texans do it, they'll want 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 young defensive starters. At the least, Watson, 25, under contract. Great QB, team leader, beloved by fans, pillar of the community. Start with the Jets. So we'll say that if Tepper was willing to offer up 2 or more of Jeremy Chin, Derek Brown, or Brian Burns, then perhaps there's a deal to be made. But realistically, this wouldn't be a smart move on their part. Carolina has to be somewhere near the top of the list of potential suitors should the Texans agree to move Watson on. They have enough draft capital and a number of players they could include in any deal, whether it's a McCaffrey, Chin, or perhaps a replacement quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater. Regardless, common sense dictates that McCaffrey alone wouldn't be enough. That being said, what about the Texans of 2021 screams common sense? Okay. Let's see. No. Okay. Now, report the Broncos not in on trade for Eagles QB Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is toiling away on the trade block, and for some reason there are people wondering whether the Denver Broncos will pull the trigger on the soon-to-be former Philadelphia Eagles cast-off quarterback. Unsurprisingly, the answer is a resounding no, according to Troy Rank of Denver 7. Hashtag Broncos QB situation will dominate offseason discussion. They will pursue Watson if hashtag Texans decide to trade him. They are not in on Wentz. Locke has handled noise well, working out, focused on having a great offseason. He understands he has to get better to keep/win job. The number 2 overall pick of the 2016 draft, Wentz star, has burnt out inexplicably fast. Once hailed as the Eagles' next great signal caller, the result of his uninvolved Super Bowl 52 victory, he ended the 2020 campaign on the bench. Healthy, replaced by then rookie Jalen Hurts. Wentz, who started 12 games, led the NFL in sacks taken, which was 50, and total turnovers committed, 19. He tied with Broncos incumbent Drew Lock for most interceptions thrown, which was 15. Philadelphia opted to part ways with head coach Doug Peterson at year's end and soon after began fielding calls for Wentz. Front runners for his services include the Indianapolis Colts and Chicago Bears, both of whom boast coaching ties to the North Dakota State product. The Eagles supposedly are aiming to land a Matthew Stafford-like haul, that is, multiple first-round choices, in exchange for Wentz. Thus far, their efforts have been fruitless, with prospective suitors unwilling to surrender more than a 2021 second-rounder and potential trade packages. Any team that acquires Wentz would need to absorb his $128 million contract signed in 2019. He carries a $15.4 million base salary and a whopping $34.673 million salary cap charge for 2021. According to Spotrac.com, $15 million of his $22 million salary for 2022 becomes fully guaranteed on March 19. It's possible, however, that his new employer splits the tab with Philadelphia or Wentz agrees to restructure to facilitate his departure. The Broncos poked around Stafford and have shown interest in disgruntled Texans superstar Deshaun Watson. The filling of which reportedly is mutual. Watson is projected to cost at least 3 first-round selections and 2 defensive starters. Assuming Houston acquiesces on a player who's under contract through 2025, failing a blockbuster trade, Denver, led by rookie general manager George Patton, is expected to add a veteran QB via free agency to compete with Locke as the jury remains out on the ballyhooed third-year passer. Okay. That was the Broncos. All right. Let's see. I think I have one more story. Okay. Cardinals receiver coach says DeAndre Hopkins is the closest thing the NFL has to Calvin Johnson today. New Cardinals wide receiver coach Sean Jefferson knows a thing or two about working with all-time talents at the position, as he rose through the coaching ranks during the early portions of his career as a member of the Detroit Lions staff. He got an up-close look and was able to work with Pro Football Hall of Fame inductee Calvin Johnson. As he now makes this transition to Arizona, he's now looking at the opportunity to coach alongside a number of talented pass catchers, including DeAndre Hopkins, who he views in a similar light as Johnson. Hopkins is probably the only one in the league I can compare to Calvin right now. has the skill set Calvin had playing above the rim and in those competitive situations coming down with the ball, said Jefferson via the official team website. That's high praise by Jefferson, who was Detroit's full-time receiver coach for the bulk of Johnson's prime from 2008 to 2012, but it does seem warranted when looking at how each plays the game. Both possess the generational ability to leap over defenders and meet the ball at the high point while taking it in. For Johnson, that was on full display. Throughout the course of his Hall of Fame career, especially during his record-setting 1,964 receiving yard season in 2012, Jefferson's final season as the Lions receivers coach. As for Hopkins, he has over 1,000 yards receiving in 6 of his first 8 seasons in the NFL, while also totaling 3 straight seasons with over 100 catches. His likeness to Megatron was apparent during one of the more memorable moments of the 2020 season. Back in Week 10, Hopkins was able to jump over a group of Bills defenders as Kyler Murray chucked a Hail Mary down the field. The 5-time Pro Bowler was miraculously able to come down with the touchdown, handing Arizona the win over Buffalo and further stamping his legacy as one of the league's best receivers. While Hopkins already has established himself as an elite player at his position, it will be fascinating to see if Jefferson can unlock even more of his abilities, pushing him even further towards that Johnson comparison. Now, I did 4 of those stories. So let's start with the Washington football team. The Washington football team, to me, if you can land Allen Robinson, that would be a great pickup. Allen Robinson, to me, is a Plaxico Burress type player where they're not real fast, but they can run routes well, and then they have hands, like they have great hands. They're able to attack the ball, get the ball, and then make yards after the catch. He's very hard to press because his frame, I think he's 6'3", 6'4"-ish. He's like in that range. And he has the ability to leap up in double coverage and grab the ball out the air. Allen was a beast in Jacksonville. That's one of the reasons why Jacksonville was dangerous when anybody opposed playing against Allen Robinson. Now, you have him and you have Corey Davis out there. Corey Davis was on the other side of A.J. Brown. To me, Corey Davis at some times was outplaying A.J. Brown in some games. But he would be a good number 2. But if I'm able to, I'm going right after Robinson. Juju Smith-Schuster, to me, I don't see him in Washington. If Juju doesn't sign back to Pittsburgh, Juju, the best fit for Juju to me is if I was him, I would see what happens with the trade with Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson doesn't go anywhere and stay in Houston, I would go to Houston and I would play with Deshaun Watson because he would fit Deshaun Watson a lot better because he'll be able to run his slants. He could play the slot. Juju to me is a slot receiver. If you put him at the slot and then you put him at the outside once in a while, he'll be very effective. And they might not be signing Will Fuller back. So that's what I'm saying. So I would wait to see where all the quarterbacks end up. Now, if Juju doesn't sign with Washington, like I said, Washington, the best picks to me would be Allen Robinson, Corey Davis. I'm not real sure. Chris Godwin, Godwin to me, if I was Godwin, I would try to go to Godwin could go where Deshaun is going, or Godwin could end up in Denver. Denver would be a good spot for him, or he could go to San Fran. Those would be some good spots for him. Godwin to me drops the ball a little too much, especially in clutch situations. And to me, he runs his routes. He's decent, but he really has a tough time catching the gimme catches. That's what T.O. used to struggle with as well, catching the little gimme catches to win the game or to get some extra yards. But if I was Washington, I would target Allen Robinson. Now, Philly, if Wentz is gone, wherever Wentz go, if he goes to the Colts or he goes to the Bears, Some people are saying the Bears. To me, I think he might end up with Indianapolis because I think Frank Wright wants him bad. And if I was Frank Wright and them, they're probably like, man, they don't know if they want to give up that much. So, that's the thing tough about Wentz because Philly wants this big price like Matthew Stafford. And I like Wentz. Wentz is a good quarterback. But to me, Matthew Stafford has a bigger arm and he's able to control the game a little better than Wentz. So, to me, Godwin, but if I was Godwin, I still would try to go to Philly. I would try to go to Philly or I would go to Miami, play on the side of Devontae Parker, and that'll be a good setup. Or shoot, he can go to Jacksonville and play on the side of DJ Chark, and that'll be a good fit. He could go to Tennessee because Tennessee might let Corey Davis go. So, it's different places he can go. Godwin, to me, is a slot guy. You could throw him in the slot. To me, he's not real great outside receiver. He misses too many easy catches, and sometimes he'll drop a tough catch. So he mentally has to work on that. Now, Allen Robinson, wherever he goes, man, that's going to set the mark for where everybody else will fall in place. Allen Robinson, to me, would fit in Washington, but who's going to be the quarterback? See, Washington has to get a quarterback. Alex Smith is not your long-term answer. He's just not. Now, if you can get a quarterback and either in the draft or via free agency or something, then go ahead and get him. But if you got Allen Robinson and you got Alex Smith, it's like, what's the point? Alex Smith can't throw the ball deep. He's Dink and Dog Alex. He can't throw it deep. He can't throw it past 15, 20 yards. So to me, Allen Robinson, if I was him, I would look at who could I look at? I would look at New Orleans. New Orleans would be a good fit for him, or Godwin. Godwin could look there too. Corey Davis could look there too. Juju, that'll be good because you have if he gets a chance to win the job, which I believe he'll win the job, that'll be good weapons. And Godwin could go there and link back up with Jameis. Him and Jameis could have a rapport. So that could be something to look for. Now, what was the next story I talked about? Oh, the Denver Broncos are basically like, we're looking for Deshaun Watson. Look, if you bring Deshaun Watson, and it ain't going to be no competing. He's the job. His contract dictates it, and come on, him and Drew Lock, that's not even close. So I'm not even going to dip into that. But the Broncos, they really need a quarterback. They need a quarterback to take the next step. They have to. And the Panthers, to me, if the Panthers are willing to get rid of those three good defenders, because those are some three young studs, if they're willing to get rid of two of them and a Christian McCaffrey along with some picks, hey, that could be their best deal. I think they'll be back in it. They'll be back in it. And I think they'll be a tough team. I think if he goes to Carolina, that'll be a jolt of that'll be a big joke, but I just don't believe he's going to Carolina. I believe Deshaun is going to play in Houston. That is too much dead cap. If Houston gets rid of Deshaun, that's too much dead cap. And what I think is going to happen is Deshaun's going to end up having to play. And if I was the Texans, I would go get Allen Robinson. I would go get Allen Robinson, and I would go get a running back. I would go get some weapons, some offensive line. I would add some linemen through the draft as well as free agency, and I would add something to that defense. And I'll come to Deshaun and say, "Look, we gave you a receiver. We gave you this. Hey, what it do then? So that's what I would do if I was the Texans. I would do that ASAP. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, I think DeAndre Hopkins is better than Calvin Johnson as far as route running. Calvin Johnson was, to me, a better deep ball guy to go get it, but DeAndre Hopkins runs way better routes than Calvin Johnson. And I think when DeAndre's career is over with, I believe he will be in my top 10. I believe he'll be probably in my top 7 or 8. DeAndre Hopkins is that good. This guy can separate. He's very good at the one-on-ones. When he's double teamed, he's able to break off of those. And the guy's very physical. He loves when people want to get physical and they want to try to throw him around, and he makes that up with his quickness and on his speed. So I would look for that. I would, I see him being potentially better. I think he's better than T.O. personally. I think Hopkins is better than a lot of guys. I think he just doesn't get the notoriety because he's not a big talker. DeAndre Hopkins is quiet and he just go out there and play. DeAndre Hopkins reminds me a lot of Marvin Harrison, like that demeanor and that quickness, their ability to separate and run that seam and to run that post, as well as that inside and out, to stop on a dime and then use their footwork to get outside. They're very tough to go against. And but I think he's the best receiver in the league today. I believe that he doesn't get the notoriety, which he should do. So, and he should get it. So let me know in the comment section, guys. Who do you think? Do you think Allen Robinson or Juju Smith or Chris Godwin or Corey Davis, any of these receivers that are out there, Galloway, where do you think they're going? Do you think Allen Robinson would be a great fit there? If the Texans don't get rid of Deshaun, do you think Allen should go to the Houston? Him or Juju or Corey should go there? Or do you think Godwin should go reunite with Jameis in New Orleans if Jameis is going to stay? And also, where do you think Wentz is going to end up, with the Colts or the Bears? I think he's going to end up with the Colts mostly, but tell me what you think. And the Broncos, what do you think the Broncos are going to do? Do you think the Broncos are going to give up the house? The Panthers look like they're giving up the house. Do you think the Panthers are going to give up those 2 defenders as well? So do you believe the Broncos are going to have D4? They're going to try to go all in, or you think the Panthers are going to do it? And let me know, do you think DeAndre Hopkins is on Calvin Johnson's level? I believe he's better than Calvin Johnson. That's just me personally. Let me know in the comment section what you think. And thank you for listening, man. We are out. HDeezy.